Hello, class. This week we're going to talk about two stories. I'm going to start with the Bradbury story, August 2026, There Will Come Soft Rains. Hopefully, this is not a prediction of what will actually happen in August 2026. My advice to science fiction writers is to predict something so far out that it is quite plausible. Hopefully, that is not the case here. So let's get into the story. Specifically, let's look at this first line. In the living room, the voice clock sang, tick tock, 7 o'clock. Time to get up, time to get up, 7 o'clock, as if it were afraid that nobody would. This provides some foreshadowing that something bad has happened or is going to happen. We, as readers, we don't know what it is yet in the story, but we're going to find out exactly what that is. Then we go to this next line that I have marked. Today is Mr. Featherstone's birthday. Today is the anniversary of Toleda's marriage. Insurance is payable, as are the water, gas, and light bills. When we do get into what has actually happened in the story, we can see that these are insignificant things that people tend to worry about, right before something tragic happens. So we're seeing that it's somebody's birthday, it's somebody's anniversary, bills are due. This is kind of the mundane stuff that we deal with from day to day, which the house is taking care of. And that's one theme that we want to look at is this idea of the house making everything convenient for us so that we only have the mundane to deal with. Speaking of the mundane, we have this part about the robot mice, and they are cleaners. And we want to deal with this idea of cleaning a space. In this case, it's the house. We see out of the warrens in the wall, tiny robot mice darted. The rooms were a crawl with the small cleaning animals, all rubber and metal. They thudded against chairs, whirling their mustached runners, kneading the rug nap, sucking gently at hidden dust. Then, like mysterious invaders, they popped into their burrows. Their pink electric eyes faded. The house was clean. It's interesting because now that we have Roombas and these automatic vacuums, just kind of sounds like that bumping into the furniture. So maybe Bradbury predicted something that actually came true. But we notice that the mice are going around cleaning this space. This is also going to be foreshadowing of maybe a cleansing of the earth through whatever tragedy has happened, which we don't have that yet, but it comes shortly after. At night, the ruined city gave off a radioactive glow which could be seen for miles. Okay, so everything has been demolished, everything has been cleaned in some way. All the life that is making mess on the earth has been removed. And now we see it's due to radioactive material, so it's likely a nuclear bomb has gone off or some type of nuclear war has happened. But a little further down, we get the remnants of people that were here. This is where we see the five spots of paint. The man, the woman, the children, the ball. It says they remained. The rest was a thin charcoal layer. So it's like the whole world has been burned into charcoal, and all that remains is just these memories of people that existed. And this brings us to what I feel is the one of the messages of the story is that we look at the advancements of the house. The house, it makes breakfast, keeps everybody on schedule, opens the garage, mows the lawn, it waters the lawn. We see how it deals with waste and even later decay in the house. It's like everything is so technologically advanced that lives have become a lot simpler than maybe we have today. And yet, what have people done with this? What have they done with the technology that they have and the knowledge and all the advancements? They end up wiping out the planet in nuclear war. And so we're getting to that idea of this technological advancement, but losing all of the morals and the ethics that maybe we need to go along with them. I think of statements or claims that we should invest more in STEM. But what happens if we focus solely on STEM and lose the humanities? Maybe this is something that could happen. So let's go on to the next part that I've highlighted. The house was an altar with 10,000 attendants. Okay, so we get this religious or moral imagery of the house becoming an altar or technology becoming that altar. Big, small, servicing, attending in choirs. Okay, so we're getting this religious symmetry here. But the gods had gone away. So we're losing that morality. We're losing what makes us humans. And the ritual of religion continued senselessly, uselessly. So we don't need morals anymore. We don't need religion. We don't need laws or codes of conduct. In a way, the house is replacing religion, even in its demons. We see this line there, down tubes which fed into the cellar. We're looking at hell here, or the idea of hell. It was dropped into the sighing vent of an incinerator. Okay, so we get this image of fire and this burning hell, which sat like evil Baal in the dark corner. And Baal, in religious terms, is a false idol. So something that's being worshipped other than God. And so we're seeing this decay in morality as the earth burns here. Then let's go to this section, which is kind of interesting. This is almost like an Eden type scene. We get, life here, we get animals, we get people. It says the walls lived. Okay, so we're getting kind of this life, but it's a false life that's being created by the house. The nursery floor was woven to resemble a crisp cereal meadow. Over this ran aluminum roaches and iron crickets, and in the hot, still air, butterflies of delicate red tissue wavered among the sharp aroma of animal spores. There was a sound like a great matted yellow hive of bees within a dark bellows, the lazy bumble of a purring lion. And there was a patter of okapi feet, and the murmur of a fresh jungle rain, like other hooves, falling upon the summer starched grass. So we get this really Eden-like scene of a meadow with animals, but it's all fake. We get aluminum roaches and iron crickets. That takes us out of the actual scene that has happened, which is the destruction of the world. So we no longer have this idyllic, romantic spot of nature that this scene is trying to present to us. Let's then look at this poem. This poem, I'm not going to read the whole poem, but it really is telling about what the story wants us to know. We have war here, and war is happening, but the people aren't paying attention to the war. They're distracting themselves with frogs and plum trees and robins. They're distracting themselves with nature. And war is going to destroy all this, but then nature will return. Nature itself then is not going to remember man when it returns. And this is likely what is going to happen with the story that we see. If we move another 50 years in the future, we're probably going to see regrowth of trees, plants, maybe animals. I don't know, but we're not going to see the humans here. Now, the next line is this house beginning to die. But before it does, I want to deal with the line below where we're talking about the fire, and the fire fed upon Picassos and Matisses in the upper halls. This shows that it's feeding upon the ingenuity or the greatness of what humankind has produced, the Picassos and Matisses, great art, what we could have been. But we go back to this line, at 10 o'clock, the house began to die. So we are seeing this death of the house, which unfortunately is going to be a metaphor for the death of people. And the death of people is probably gruesome. It's probably horrifying if we think of dying in a nuclear blast. We see a little bit with the dog and what the dog goes through. But in order to maybe save the reader from seeing that horror, or to say that we don't look at the horror, we look at, you know, something to distract us, it talks about the house dying instead. If we liken the house to people, this reads much differently. The house shuddered, oak bone on bone, its bared skeleton cringing from the heat, its wire, its nerves revealed as if a surgeon had torn the skin off to let the red veins and capillaries quiver in the scalded air. So again, it's presenting this, as if the house is dying, but if we liken that to people, we see how horrifying this is. So, despite all of the advancements that we have to make our lives easier, how do we end up with our skin burned off, with our veins exposed? Just horrifying what people could do to one another. And then we get this part that is so human. In the kitchen, an instant before the rain of fire and timber, the stove could be seen making breakfast at a psychopathic rate: 10 dozen eggs, 6 loaves of toast, 20 dozen bacon strips, which, eaten by fire, started the stove working again, hysterically hissing. It's almost as we're trying to get that one last grasp of we could do something, we could stop this, we could gain our humanity back and fix this. But just like with the house, it's too late here. Okay, so only when we see that we're dying do we grasp at what we could have done and how we could have lived. Then we get this final line. Today is August 5th, 2026, repeated over and over. And the story started out with today is August 4th. So we see that not life goes on, but time still goes on. So even though the human life has been eradicated here, nature is probably going to still persist and maybe build back someday. I hope you like this story. We have such ability and we're making such progress in technology and science. We need to remember some of the humanities as well. Make sure you watch the video on the old man with enormous wings, and I will see you in class.